Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nick, and we are once again checking out some early gameplay footage of a game that I recorded at a Bandai Namco event that was held a couple days ago in San Francisco. And in today's video, we're going to be checking out the game that I was most excited about when I was given the invitation to the show. So this game is called Code Vein, and it was definitely the highlight of the entire event for me. It was very fun to play. And this game was announced last year, and pretty much everyone who has read anything about it or watched anything or trailers or gameplay footage of it, people describe it as anime Dark Souls, and it's fair. But personally myself, I don't like giving overarching descriptions to video games, especially new IP, because they should be given the chance to kind of be their own thing. But if you break out the core concept of the game, of defeating enemies, using their experience to level up, it has that same core similarity. And as you can see right here, but there are some striking differences as well. I swapped over to this tail attack that really reminds me of Sasori from the Naruto franchise. His tail attack that kind of comes out of nowhere. So even though at the core the mechanics are very similar in terms of how you progress and level up, there are some differences as well that I really took note of, which made the game feel a little bit more unique. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is that, as you can see right here, for the very first time ever, when you compare to the Souls or the Bloodborne franchise, you actually have a partner this time who will work with you in order to kind of progress and defeat enemies. So Mia is your partner, and not only can she attack enemies, she can pull aggro. Sometimes in this demo she actually pulls aggro, even though I don't want her to. She also has a cool core ability in that if you fall, you run out of HP, she can actually use her health and donate that health to revive you and kind of bring you back up to kind of give you a second chance. And not only does that work from her side, it actually works from your side as well. So if she falls because she can die, you have a 2 or 3 second window to revive her and to donate your health in order to resurrect her again. If you don't revive her, then it's pretty much just like similar like Dark Souls. Once you die, and then you respawn at the closest bonfire or whatever the thing they call it in this game is. So yeah, that's one major difference. And another major difference is that just like as there's like a magic system in the Souls franchise, there's one in this game as well. But unlike in the Souls franchise, where you can completely choose to ignore magic if you want to, you can just basically just a pure melee character. This game really encourages you to, it's pretty much you have to use the magic system in order to progress effectively. So as you can see right here, as I bring up this HUD, so I'm going to try to get through this as quickly and concisely as I possibly can, because it's a little bit confusing to explain. So anytime you respawn, you always start off with 10 ichor. In this case, because I've defeated a couple enemies, I have 14 over 16 at this very moment. So you can gain ichor by defeating enemies. The X attack, or that tail attack that I showed you guys a little bit earlier, is the attack that will allow you to gain ichor more effectively in comparison to just regular attacks. So that's why it's kind of like a vampire sort of drain attack. It doesn't nearly do as much damage as a regular melee attack, but you get to replenish your magic faster. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. I decided to go with the tail attack because I felt that it was a good time to actually use it in order to strike enemies at a distance to regain your magic. That was kind of like the balance I was going for. And once the actual battle started, then I just used regular attacks. So just very quickly of what everything does based on memory. There's two that I can't remember exactly what they do. So each face button, as you see, has a number beside it. That is the amount of magic cost that the gift requires in order for you to use. The magics are called gifts in this game, just as a heads up. So the triangle one is shield, so gives you more of a boost to your defense. The square one shoots a little bit of a very weak arrow. It's not meant to be used as an attack to actually do damage. Rather, it's used to pull aggro. So if you have a group of enemies, you can use it to draw them away from each other separately. The circle button is the health donation that I talked about a little bit earlier. You can donate some of your health to make sure that Mia stays alive so she doesn't die, then you're kind of left helpless. I completely forget what the X1 does. I didn't use it at all. The up on the D-pad increases your speed, your movement speed. The left one on the D-pad adds lightning element to your weapon. So in this particular demo, the main boss is actually weak against lightning, so it's very effective to use. The right D-pad increases your overall melee strength, your attack strength, so that's very effective to use. If you combine that with the lightning against the boss, it's highly effective. And I honestly, even though it's highlighted right now, I don't remember exactly what the down on the D-pad does. It must do something important because it costs the most amount to cast. So yeah, that's a quick breakdown of what all the gifts are about in this particular demo. So this particular demo of the game can be really broken up into two parts. You have this kind of like dungeon crawling area, which is basically one gigantic loop. So there are some scattered enemies around. There's one really gigantic enemy at the very end of the loop that I actually was not able to kill. I kind of died there, and then I make a couple of runs try to pick up my haze or my souls once again. It just doesn't work out, man. There's a timer limit on the entire demo as well. So ideally what you should do is you should level up as much as you possibly can by defeating enemies. Go back to the bonfire or the mistle, that's what it's called in this game, and level up before you tackle the boss. But I found that like I did that one time. I went around defeating enemies and leveled up. But the entire demo has a timer limit of 15 minutes, and by the time I actually got a good mechanic or good field mechanics for the boss, the timer ran out, and pretty much all my progression was lost. So when it's actually time to fight the boss, I fight him without any leveling up whatsoever, so that makes it a little bit more difficult than you would really want. But like I've said it before in previous videos, your main enemy at these types of video game capture events is time. You're always trying to fight time because there are other people behind you that want to play as well. And especially with like a Souls type game, especially a brand new one, if you were to drop me right into a fresh brand new Souls game, I would have a pretty good general idea of how to proceed and the nuances about it. But because this is a brand new IP and there are some very subtle changes, I didn't have enough time to figure out everything, which is why I don't remember what some of the gifts actually do and how to use them properly. So there are items, as you can see right here. I just used the health item, and this is an iCore item. So you can use that to replenish your iCore if you, for some reason, are out of magic or MP and you don't want to run the risk of trying to use an X attack to replenish your iCore. You can use items as well to replenish your magic stamina meter as well. So yeah, that's basically the general mechanics of how everything runs and the general setup of this little area. Like I said, it's one gigantic loop, and there are, I think, 3 different weapons that you can find throughout this entire dungeon crawl. I still, at the very end of it, after I picked everything up, I still like the base sword because it was still the most rounded weapon. It does decent damage and it swings fairly fast as well. So yeah, so you can actually, at the very beginning of the demo, you can actually access the boss right away. You just have to go to that mistle area. Activate the mistle will give you the option to fight the boss. But I decided that I wanted to try to explore as much as I possibly can. There is a parry system in this game, but just like in any parry system, especially in previous Souls games, it's a really high risk, high reward play. That's why I generally have the good idea of how the parry system works, but I find like it's just safer to block with a shield, or in this case your weapon, in order to, even though in this game you lose a chunk of health, as I guess it really depends on the weapon, but it's just safer, I've always found, to just block rather than trying to parry. That's just how I've always approached these types of games, and so I don't think I actually pulled off a parry. I tried and it failed miserably and just kind of gave up. So, yeah. Alright, so I'm going to take a pause in the commentary for one moment because we're going to get to this section where we have this gigantic boss monster that I was never able to defeat in this entire demo. And I actually tried to... You'll see, it's a very epic fail moment of me trying to regain my haze. And when I come back, we will be at the boss. And we'll talk about the boss battle that took place.
Can't lose this one.
Next time.
Come on, up you go.
Lost nearby. Be careful.
Now!
There's so many.
Morning, sunshine.
Alright, so as promised, I am once again back, and this is the boss fight, the main boss fight for the entire demo. Once again, you can access this right away at the very start by activating the Mistle. So this boss name is called the Queen's Knight. Pretty generic boss, nothing too, in terms of design, out of the ordinary. And it took me a while to actually beat her because I played my first demo run, which was only 15 minutes long, and I pretty much had to wait for everyone else to finish their play sessions in order to basically play as much as I possibly wanted in order to actually finally defeat her. And not to toot my own horn here, but there were only 2 kills during the entire day. Yours truly right here, as well as a writer from DualShockers. DualShockers video game website. It's actually pretty well known. Anyways, so yeah, it took me 45 minutes, so, well, probably an hour. I had my first play session, which was 15 minutes, and then it took me by the end of my 3rd play session in order to finally get the kill. So, as I stated earlier, this boss is weak against lightning, so that's why I activated my buff out of lightning as well as my increased damage rate at the very start. And we, as you can see, we do some serious amount of work, but as you guess, as you progress, as she's like teleporting around the screen right here, as you progress further, she changes her attack pattern. It becomes really erratic as she's kind of like phasing in and teleporting in and out. So like I said earlier, you have to keep not only in mind your health, but as well as Mia's health, because she is the one that's gonna be raising you once again. This is her craziest attack that does the most amount of damage. If you don't have at least 3/4 health, that attack can actually completely decimate you. She kind of like jumps in the air and drops down in like a plunge attack, but then she kind of extends that red haze outward with that X, and it just does devastating amount of damage to yourself. So as you can see right here, that's how I died. I was so close with it. Oh my god. That X attack is just completely vicious. So yeah, you have to keep into account your partner's health as well, because she's going to be the one that kind of acts as your safety net. But basic combat, if you play any of the Soul series, extends to this fight as well. She has a one-handed weapon, so if you're gonna dodge roll towards her shield side, because she can't attack you with your shield, obviously. And then just, yeah, find openings, chip away, don't get too overzealous. I tried to stick with more of a faster paced weapon, so instead of using the tail attack, which is slower, gains you more, it gives you more I-core, but it's just in general slower. So I swapped back over to the claw, and I just stuck with the standardized sword. With most boss battles, I find it's just more effective just to go for quicker, faster, and repeated hits rather than long swing ones that have really big charge up times. It's just how I've always kind of approached bosses in general with these types of games. But yeah, the combat felt smooth. It felt very intuitive. It felt the Souls games have always been tough, but they've always been fair in that the controls always feel very crisp. So you never feel that the controls have cheated you in any sort of way. And that's the good sign of one of these types of heavy combat infinite fighting games, that you want to feel that the controls are very crisp and very intuitive, compressed, and everything reacts as you expect it to. And in this game, it does. So the controls felt spot on. Because we were only limited to one area, that dungeon crawl area, what makes, not only is the combat in the Souls games so great, it's also what makes those games great are their environments as well. So you have these grandiose environments, castles, bogs, swamps. In this demo in particular, we only got a dingy cave to crawl through that was kind of generic. So it kind of, basically, we just had to wait for more information to come out to see if the environments are as spectacular as they are in the Souls franchise and the Bloodborne franchise. And I'm hoping, because we actually have another character to kind of interact with. Mia does once in a while speak once in a while. I'm kind of hoping that there's going to be more emphasis in the in-game story. There's always a lot of lore in Bloodborne as well as Dark Souls, but you kind of have to dig a little bit deeper beyond the surface in order to get it. I'm kind of hoping that there's more of a upfront in your face story, and it's just a little bit more easier to understand rather than trying to separately research it. But yeah, other than that, I had a lot of fun with this demo. It was certainly challenging, but if you not too challenging if you're familiar with the Souls franchise at all, then you should feel right at home. And that's basically, I think that's all you can really ask for, because that series is kind of like the pinnacle of what everything's supposed to be. So if it's even remotely close to that, then it should still be a decent game. But yeah, I'll leave you guys with the rest of the gameplay and the final kill. It's getting very stressful. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the gameplay combat. If you enjoyed, as always, give me a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. As always, have a fast day.